Hi everyone, my name's Daniel. I'm your education manager. Thanks for tuning in to this CSE Revisioncast. I'm here with my colleague John.
Hello, I'm John Woods, Director of Education in CSEE.
And we're just going to have a look at the submission for your CSE exam, take-home exam via Phaser, and what the actual submission portal and question and answer paper look like.
Yep, and most importantly, how to access the question paper, how to access the answer paper, and how to upload that information to us. Daniel's now taking a photograph of his equation or diagram that he's been asked for in the examination. And I believe, Daniel, you're going to mail it to yourself, aren't you? That seems the easiest way, although you could just plug your phone into the USB socket and read it as a drive. So it might be worth students practicing that over an hour or so just beforehand, so that you're familiar with the pipeline of getting that photograph from your tablet, from your phone, from your camera, standard camera used as well, and getting that into the document on here. It doesn't have to be in the answer sheet, actually. You could include it just as the document itself if you want to do that. So on the Phaser tab where you do the submission part, you could just put that in there as a separate document. That would be fine. One of the things I think we have to insist on is that anything you do is legible. So you need to check it before, because we can't mark something that we can't read. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got my formula here for, sorry, I'll put question 1.
Okay.
Oh, no, question 1.
That's annoying, that formatting, isn't it?
So question 1, let me insert. Oh wait, no, I can just paste it, can't I? This is probably going to be. Yep. So
Look at that.
There we go. So it's not only
must be squared equals c squared. Do you know the implications of that, Daniel?
I mean, I remember it parrot fashion from GCSEs, but I'm not.
Yeah, very far-reaching that.
Let's have a look. So I'm using part of my 1 hour of submission time.
Yeah.
To fiddle around with this. So let's format picture, see if we can rotate it somehow. I'm good at.
For those watching, this isn't particularly important. It could just be rotated. We're perfectly capable of rotating it for you, but
yeah, absolutely.
Daniel's just being a perfectionist here.
I am a perfectionist. There we go. And then I'll make it a little bit smaller because it is a bit. It's important, but not to be. There we go. Excessive. So that might be my answer to question 1.
Fantastic. And the advantage of doing that all in the same document is, of course, that you're not going to make any mistakes and forget to submit something, and then, of course, we try and pick the pieces up afterwards. That's your single submission, single return, which is an almost foolproof way of doing it.
Yeah.
And obviously, A up arrow -2 is square root, but if you want to use that type of thing for fast typing, that's fine. If you don't want to, then put it on a piece of paper, photograph it, and put it into your document. This is why we've given you an additional hour to do this, which is perfectly generous given the amount of work this is generating. The only thing that you need to be au fait with, you're sat at your PC, you need to either have a camera or a mobile phone with a camera, and you need to be quite proficient in how you're going to upload that into your document.
Yeah.
Life's simple, I think.
Yeah, there are a number of. I actually had a conversation with one of our students who is a second year computer science student, Yangus, and he said we should use. I'll find the actual.
The one about LaTeX, was it?
No, I think this was around an app which is Office Lens. So there's an app called Office Lens, which is available both iOS and Android, and it's able to do a bit of a better job than, say, if you're scanning taking a picture of a larger piece of writing or section. It actually does a bit of a clearer job. I think it stitches photos together to make things a bit more legible.
Let's be clear about this. If you want to use additional third-party tools to be able to make this easier for yourself, then by all means do so. But you can see what we're trying to achieve here. That entering equations in Microsoft Word can be time consuming, and an obvious way, especially when you do diagrams. I wouldn't want to do a diagram under exam conditions inside Microsoft Word, so I would scribble it down on a piece of paper and photograph it. I think that's an order of magnitude quicker.
Yeah.
But the choice ultimately is you. We've allotted you that time to be able to do it. So if you save yourself some time by scribbling on paper and photographing and uploading, which the whole process takes 30 seconds or whatever, then you've got money in the time bank, haven't you?
Mm. Shall we have a look at, so this is the this is what phaser looks like to anyone who's maybe, I mean, if you've gotten this far without seeing what phaser looks like, then you may not be with us for much longer. But the actual phaser interface is this sort of nice, cool.
Yeah, and this is what it's going to look like. So your exam timetable, you'll be sent a link, and you go to that link, open it up, and here we are. This is what your examination is going to look like. So this is a mock that's been set up by Learning and Teaching Technology by good old Ben Steeples. And what they're doing is they're using a modified version of phaser to be able to deliver the exam to you. So Daniel, talk us through what's on the left-hand side there and what this page is all about.
Yeah, brilliant. So this is the landing page for with the details of the assignment. You got this big blue upload button.
So let's be clear, this is where the link that's sent to you will take you to, right?
Yeah. So this
directly to your own page. You haven't got to browse through phaser and find your specific files. You will only be sent files relevant to you.
Yeah, and this will be this will be the module code. So it'll be CE 123. This will be the assignment title. There's also an assignment number, which is not important, but it helps to demarcate them sometimes.
Okay, something you told me a little bit earlier was that all students have a dummy phaser so that they can go and try this for themselves before the exam. Is that right?
So everyone has will be able to see their actually one better than that. Everyone will be able to go and see their phaser take-home exams via phaser pages. The only thing that will be made available and the only thing that will happen at the exam start time is a file will appear on the feedback where the exam paper is released. So these will already be available for students to go and poke around in. You're right. They will have access to these to go and have a look at.
So it's a bit of a misnomer, actually. Maybe I need to speak to Ben, but so files is where the exam paper is, and feedback is where you upload. What do those two mean?
Oh, no, that's a good point. So files is your upload. So this is where you upload your finished product.
Okay.
Counterintuitively, with this process, you go feedback first. Now, I know you and I have talked about feedback in the past and how it's kind of almost unfortunate. It comes at the end of an assignment. Really, you need sort of micro feedback throughout the building of an assignment. So this is a sort of perfect world where we're starting with feedback first. And what will happen, or the procedure for the
exam. Basically, Daniel, cut to the chase, feedback means the exam, right? So I click on the feedback link, that will take me to my exam, yeah?
Yes, so it will that will be where your exam paper is released and your answer sheet is released.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let's have a quick look at that, shall we? The example document.
Yeah. So this is
you've got it open already. Okay.
Yeah. So if I was to go into that, so I'll just go into that again. So it'll just be here. You'll just click on it, and it will download to your laptop or your computer or your device.
Yeah. Or you might be lucky enough that your web browser already has a Word viewer installed into it, so you can view it that way as well.
Yeah.
I personally would download it and have a local copy, because then you can shift about between windows while you're working on your machine. I mean, you guys out there know this better than I do. You know, you're much younger than I
am. So here we've got the well, I mean, we've done a couple of these when we're looking at past papers, but these are the versions for 2020 that we've been given access to. So here we've got the all-important general 2 hours exam time. So that may be varied slightly if you're entitled to extra time for specific reasons, individual arrangements for yourself. And then the 1 hour for submission time, which we've talked about before, which brings the total up to about 3 hours in total. Here we've got the time it's due to start, and the GMT +1. So that's when it's due to start is the BST time in your exam calendar, in your exam timetable. A little bit about calculators. Now, we've talked about calculators before, haven't we, John? I mean, these are the ones we recommend because A, they're probably the ones you've already got, given previous exams or previous study. B, they'll be the ones that you've been taught with, so you'll know the functions and you'll be familiar with them anyway.
Yeah.
But essentially, John, it doesn't matter if you've got a super duper calculator that tells you the answer to everything, because
it doesn't make any difference, Daniel. Calculators don't pass exams, and I've had this argument with the examinations office many times before. It goes back to the early days when calculators started moving over to language translators, and on a couple of occasions material was found inside the language translator which could have been useful inside an exam. But remember, we're open book here effectively, so whichever calculator you use is irrelevant, really.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in the early, a bit of a side note, but I remember the early 2000s. I think they were called personal organizers.
Yeah.
They were just sort of coming in. They were a bit of an obscure dead end for technology, because they were then sort of superseded by.
Well, they were, but I guess the equivalent now is taking a tablet into an exam with you.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is effectively what you're doing here. Yeah.
So here we go. So the paper consists of 4 questions. Candidates must answer all questions. That's good. So here it will say questions are either of equal weight or are not of equal weight.
Yep.
So that's a really important one for how you measure the speed at which you go through things and how much time you allocate to each question.
Yeah, we've got a video about the time allocation and looking at questions. You can tell how much effort that question requires by the percentage of the overall paper. So you can see some of our other videos which explain that to you quite clearly, I think.
So here we go. If you have a query with the content of your exam, please use the revision FAQ forum in the module's Moodle page, and your academic will be available to answer any queries in real time. So this really is if you think that you found a mistake in any of the questions or any of the wording, if you think, well, I can answer it this way or this way, I'm really stuck. I can't see a clear way forward. And
on that one, Daniel, quite often you don't need to contact anyone, because if you could perceive it 2 different ways, then just state your assumptions and say, I assume that in this question you mean the following. But we've got the technical support, so you've got 2 ways forward. You've got the FAQ forum, you've got contact of the academic instantly. Now, under normal conditions, you would go through the examinations office. So the invigilator would phone the examinations office, the examination office would phone the academic would respond, the exams office would contact the invigilator, and the invigilator would walk over and whisper in that person's ear, yes, correct, question 3 is correct or incorrect, or whatever it happens to be. Now, you can imagine the latency associated with that. Now, what we're doing here is actually a lot better, because if there is ambiguity in there, you're straight into a Zoom window. You can have instant contacts to the academic, and you've also got the FAQs in there where if anyone else has raised a query, rather than, okay, it's going to take a few seconds to have that conversation, you may just go into the FAQs and question 3, there's 2 question 3A's because there's a typo. The second A should be question 3B or whatever it is. And you can see straight away that you're not the only person to have experienced that problem, but it hasn't used any of your time. And this is in that, again, allocated to that magic hour that you have to be able to deal with any problems you have.
Yeah.
Now, there's also a technical contact, and this isn't intended for things to do with the exam paper. This is intended to be technical issues that you may be facing. So, for example, you've completed your exam paper, you're 10 minutes from the end, you've pressed upload twice, and all you get is the spinny window. You need to notify our technical support team that all you're getting is a little spinny disk which is indicating that your file isn't being uploaded for whatever reason. They can then help you in the respect that it's timestamped, so they know when you mailed them or they know when you contacted them, and they can either accept your file by a different means or make a note that you tried to resolve that particular problem at that particular time. We're certainly not leaving you open loop on this. We are sat the other side here, ready, willing, and able to help. Now, with a bit of luck, you won't need that help. But if you do need that help, here it is. We've got FAQs. We've got an academic sat there ready to talk to you on Zoom. And we have our entire technical support team sat behind their PCs waiting for you to contact them as well.
Yeah. Well, one of the benefits to this actually is that, and I noticed in some of the guidance that I've seen, is that when you're on this phaser example page, there is this talk to us live on chat. Now, it would be I mean, I'm not going to do it now. It'll be a bit of a leap for me, but what you can do is you can have a live real-time conversation with someone in the exams team. Granted, it won't help you with internet connectivity, because you won't be able to find that and look at that on the if you don't have the internet access. But they will be able to signpost you, and again, that's chat in real time. It's accessible. You don't have to call anyone up. You're not fiddling around with multiple devices. It's hosted as a chat function on the.
But those people aren't inside the CSEE department, so they'll help you in any way they can, and obviously they'll forward you on to the correct person to answer your question. But it's going to eat into your time a little bit. So the facilities we've put in place should, in all reasonableness, be instantaneous. So
yeah, and I think that's the important thing with making people feel like they're not left behind, is to really be visible and accessible. I think that's one of the joys of us having fixed term or finite exams. Not that you have an infinite exam, that'd be awful, but
I don't know. I mean, we come to that subject, Daniel, these 24-hour exams. That would frighten me quite a lot if I had 24 hours to write an exam, because I would be under the impression I'd be expected to work on that exam for 24 hours. So I know some of my colleagues would put huge amounts of effort into a 24-hour exam. So I'd beat myself up and try and do the same thing. So actually, I think there's a lot of advantages in 2 hours plus 1 hour for administration exams. I think, the way forward on this.
I think, my personal experience, the longest exam I've ever had is about 15 hours, and that was broken up into 3 5-hour days, and that was an art and design exam at A-level, I think it was.
Right.
So but I mean, that's a little less strenuous for me personally, doing an ice watercolor for about 15 hours rather than hardcore formula equations, given which my example of is a squared plus b squared is c squared. So it gives you a bit of an idea of
it's one of the most fundamental equations in the world, Daniel, and most calculus and so on just fall straight out of it. So good.
So on just popping back to this rubric here, so it says please allow at least 30 minutes at the end of your exam to upload your work. Well, I mean, we've allocated an hour, so if you spend half an hour.
But you and I, Daniel, we're not stupid, and we know that people will eat into that hour. Nothing we can do about that, because we've obviously got to allow you some contingency there.
Yeah, and we do encourage, always review all the questions. If there's the one that you were stuck on that you didn't have the momentum to tackle before, you might have a spare sort of 5 minutes at the end. But yeah, allocate your time wisely. I mean, it's about time management more than anything else, isn't it, John? It's about knowing how much time you've got and how to use it safely. Do not communicate with any other candidate in any way during the assessment. I mean, this is...
I'll just pick that one up, Daniel. The one thing about... now, I come from a sailing fraternity, and I do a lot of racing. And we have a little rule in racing, which is never follow the boat in front. And the reason you don't follow the boat in front is because they may have made a mistake. And also, when you're going around marker buoys, you have to go to port, starboard, and so on. Now, the boat ahead, if the boat ahead goes around that mark to starboard and you go around that mark to starboard, but you're actually supposed to round it to port, all you've done is you've followed someone else that has made a mistake. Doing it independently is by far your best way forward. It's an academic offence to communicate with anyone anyway, But if you are minded to sit there and you've got Snapchat running or whatever, and you're comparing your answer to Fred's answer or whatever, you're going to do worse than you would do off your own back, I can assure you, because you're going to eat into all your time. You're going to lend yourself open to an academic offence. So when we go through the exam papers and we see a huge amount of similarity between two answers, rest assured, we're going to come for you. So don't be tempted to go down that route. And even if you did, it would be counterproductive. And in my opinion, you'd end up with less grades than you would if you hadn't have done it at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's one of those things that, apart from being, immoral and against the rules and not particularly beneficial to either party, especially.
It's not constructive. You'll do worse rather than better.
Yeah, it's one of the most inconvenient things. Oh, what have you got for answer 4? What have you got for this and that? All that time you could actually just be spending doing your best at it, reviewing it, and then submitting it correctly and on time. I mean,
and also, if we see an answer of 3.14 for question 5, but with no working, we're also going to be a little bit suspicious, right?
No, absolutely. Or similarly, you can provide all the working in the world, and if you get the wrong answer, which if you move to cheat, you must be so afraid of getting the wrong answer. It doesn't really matter, because if you've shown you're working, if you've shown your method and your process, you get marks allocated for that anyway. So it's not a clear-cut thing at all.
We have a whole video, Daniel, don't we, about open-ended questions and how actually it's really difficult to answer an open-ended question because it's a personal. It's not an opinion, but it's obviously based on evidence. But you're asked to answer something that's open-ended rather than closed. It's rather difficult to do that with access to plagiarism means, whether that's your friend or whether that's Google or whatever. So if you resort to that, we'll catch you. So please don't.
I think one of these as well, your response must be your own work. Now, as of it, it could be an allusion to cheating and those academic offences. However, it could also apply, and this is a query that you and I have had, John. Do I need to provide a reference bibliography or reference points throughout my exam? Now, this got me thinking, because yes, it's being submitted through Phaser, but no, it's distinct as a form of assessment to be an exam. So while it may seem, oh, I'm in Phaser mode, it must be coursework, I must, reference where, and if I use someone else's quote or something in this, I should reference it. That's not the way that we're expecting students to work for this exam.
Absolutely not. If you're under exam conditions, and even if you do provide a reference to something, it means that you resorted to means which is against exam conditions. So if you put a quote in there and double quotes and put a reference underneath it, we're going to come for you for plagiarism. It's as simple as that. You're not allowed to do it under an exam. Now, were you to, and we don't want you to do this, but were you to do a Google search and cut and paste something in there and paraphrase it, as one student made an inquiry to us about, on the one hand, you'd have to understand the subject material to be able to paraphrase it in the first place. So there's a certain amount of justice done in that respect. But also, if you didn't understand the material, it would be very difficult to do it in a meaningful way anyway. And also through that, the plagiarism engines are very good at knowing whether something is just a cut down version of something which is available online. And one of the first things that we have and that we check before this goes off to the markers is any plagiarism which has taken place in here, and they go into a different pile if they're higher up the plagiarism list. You don't want to be accused of plagiarism, even under these kind of conditions, even though it's open book.
One of the points we've actually leapfrogged was please save your work throughout the examination to avoid losing your work. Now, I'm guilty of this more than anyone. It normally happens with Excel. I don't know if it's my PC and Excel, but if I try and do something ambitious or complicated, I get really far, I feel great with it, I go back, make a coffee and come back, and then it's frozen, whirring and everything like that. I think, oh no.
Just one little tip here for those of you who aren't that au fait with Microsoft tools. It's usually when you do a save and you get the little whizzy wheel come round, which is really frustrating. And then it says Microsoft Word not responding or whatever. Yeah, desperation, but not really, because what happens is the tools are now so advanced. If you close down that window, open up Word again, if you're using Word, you'll see under there recovered documents, and that will take you up, but only up until your last save. So if you don't know the keyboard shortcut, it's Control S. That's all you need to do, and you can do that while you're typing. So every time you think it, every time you answer a question, Control S, then you've got it. So even if the document crashes, you'll have it up to the last time that you pushed Control S under the retrieve lost documents under file.
Yeah, no, so we've got pretty much all of that guidance on that on the sort of front page of that exam paper down. Where to go with issues, the time and format of the questions, how to upload or what to upload, and everything like that. So one of the other things you'll be provided with as well is an answer sheet. So if we just go back, I mean, I know we've already seen this, but if we just go back to this answer sheet, which will be downloaded from that feedback tab in your phaser exam entry as well. So you see my answer here, I've imported a formula, then I've got some gibberish down here, then I've got some more answers. Now at the end, I don't know if we can see this. Let me zoom in for this one. It's in the footer, that's why it's...
Yeah, so that's just the general phaser link, so you need to go back to that page, because that's just going to take you to phaser, which isn't any good.
No, and then you'd have to...
Yeah, remember, you've got your personal page. Just open the personal page, Daniel. Personal page. Yeah, so that's where you want to be. And so I don't know whether you can actually do the upload, Daniel, but so now you've completed your exam, right? So you're going to upload your file.
Yeah.
Do you know where your file is, Daniel, or have you forgotten?
Oh, let's have a look. So I need to save this.
Save as something, if it's just on your desktop or something.
Yep, online answer sheet. So then if I go to, no, wrong one, this one. Okay. So it has to be below 50 megabytes, which hopefully I think it is.
I can't, yeah, that people may think that's a constraint, but goodness me, I mean, if you're 50 megabytes, single still image, yeah, I find it very, very difficult to believe that you would exceed 50 megabytes. But if you do, upload more than one file.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Or if you want to, if you do have images, you can always upload them as separate image files or keep them separate.
But remember, the only images you're going to have are the ones that you've generated of the photographs of your work. I would be extremely alarmed if someone uploaded a picture they'd taken from YouTube, because they would be admitting plagiarism, you know, and would be processed for it, which I don't want to do. I don't want to.
Yeah.
People
So if we go to oh, there we go. Documents. Oh, it's under documents, not desktop.
Yeah.
So online answer sheet.
Okay, well, you wasted a minute of your hour there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Now I've got to make up for that. So it says there what the file name is. It says here, please make sure the upload files in the format that the person marking the work can read. So as our students have been submitting to phaser, you know, for at least a year, they will be familiar with the sort of format that's readable.
Yeah, Word, PDF, I mean, in extreme cases, .text, it doesn't matter. It's just as long as we can read it.
So it'll be, I agree to the authorship. Now these are, I actually had a look at some of these. I don't know if I can zoom in. Yeah, that might be better. So these are actually some quite good guidance points on here. I hadn't seen these before, but links to, you know, personal tutor, the student handbook, plagiarism, skills for success, even after my exam. Those are quite useful things to be aware of.
I would recommend that you have a look at those before the exam, because obviously in the exam you don't want to be breveting through those, because time.
That's true. Yeah, you know how many minutes I lose into that. I'm aware, as an example, assignments and files I submit will not be submitted. I am aware. Yes. So this would probably generate something annoying for the IT team to find my file logs.
Yeah, and that's the intricacies of learning and teaching technology. That you just got to do that. And then you click upload file. I'm not sure what would happen if you do that, Daniel, because this is only a trial page. Do it. Let's see if we can break the machine, shall we?
Yeah, but there we go. Oh, here we go.
Done it, and here's your receipt. Look.
Now, if I get a mark for that, which will probably not be very much, because
Oh, I don't know. You knew a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You've got to get 5% of that, surely.
There we go. And I think my candidate number was on it. That's another 1%.
Yeah.
So
let's have a look at that watermark, Daniel. So that's your receipt that the exam was uploaded and received.
oh, really? Oh, wow.
And there's a copy of your exam. So there's once you've gone through that process, you've got the evidence your exam was uploaded, and if there's any problems further down the line, you can obviously contact us with that evidence. Not that that should be the case anyway.
I also get a just for reference. This has just popped up. I get a an email notification as well once I've done it.
Fantastic.
So I think if you do it and you don't get an email notification, it may not be the end of the world, but it's just worth checking out.
Yeah, so you've got 2 receipts there, and you've got a copy of your original paper for you to keep.
Brilliant. Perfect. Cool. No, so that's interesting. So that's all of the points that we've covered in this in the actual submission process. Are there any other points that you want to raise, John, just around the doing of the thing?
No, not really, Daniel. Apart from, the people watching this video, please go in and play with it. Because please go in and play with it. Please go in, put something in your answer sheet just so that you're familiar with it. Make sure you're aware of where you're saving it. Take a photograph of something. Now, young people are so au fait with phones and tablets and so on. We're probably telling them to suck eggs and, they know better than we do. But make sure that you can take that photograph, make sure you can either get it into the document or get it into the phaser upload. Remember, you can upload more than one thing.
No, that's true. I think as well, the sections on phaser are there now. They won't have the exam papers released, but they are they are placeholders there. So even bookmarking those.
Yeah, go in there and have a play. Pretend it's your exam today, and this is what you'll be looking at in May or whenever you're sitting your exam.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us and for our sticking with me as I fumbled my way through the actual exam process. It's not like doing watercolors, I know that for sure, but maybe next time we'll cover that one.
But I think it's relatively straightforward. I'm quite confident that the vast majority of our students will have no problems with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thanks for listening.
Brilliant. See you later.